I was born in 68, and I was born in a country with almost the best infant mortality rate in the world, the best place to be born. I was born in a city which had the first baby incubators, there. We were at the very forefront of health.
But in the 1970s, a secret plan to sell off nationalised industry was drawn up as Margaret Thatcher prepared to take power. Nicholas Ridley, a close ally of Thatcher on the far right, advised a preparation for return to the private sector by stealth. In the same year, the American management consultants McKinsey and Company proposed that NHS hospitals should be like hotels and charge patients a daily rate. What is the history of this revisionism of the NHS?
The real attack, the real decimation started in the late 80s under Margaret Thatcher, and her two advisors, Oliver Letwin and John Redwood.
How did they express that?
They produced a document called Britain's Biggest Enterprise, and this set out how to get from a public service to an insurance-based system. They knew that whatever they did to the NHS, if they took it away from a public service, there would be a huge backlash. So key to the plan was to do it very surreptitiously and covertly and over a long period of time.
But it was the new Labour government of Tony Blair that accelerated the sell-off. Blair used an accountancy trick called Private Finance Initiative, or PFI. New hospitals were effectively owned by the companies that built them under disastrous pay-later terms.
The effect of PFI has been to deliberately burden hospitals with huge debts, and these debts were structured in such a way that they would become more onerous over time. And what that does, it removes money away from the delivery of care, because PFI repayments are ring-fenced, so money has to go to pay the PFI above any other call on that money. So you end up having the servicing of the debt in preference to the providing of care for patients. And we've seen hospitals close down. Neighbouring hospitals which don't have a PFI debt have been sacrificed to bail out hospitals with PFI debts. So if you look at the total PFI debt within the NHS, we've borrowed about 11 billion and we're going to be paying back in excess of 80 billion over 30 to 40 years.
And much of this was secret, wasn't it?
The way PFI was introduced, it was never explained in a way that the public could understand what a con, what a fraud this was.
At one point, though, the Labour government at one point was looking at, actually, I think it was about a third of the NHS assets were going to be effectively privatised in this way and handed over to PFI.
And were these deals accountable, publicly accountable?
They were profoundly secretive. I mean, you couldn't get any access to what was going on at all. They were all behind closed doors.
It's an enormous, appalling public scandal. 124 hospitals and more are now designed, built and operated using private finance. And remember, it was accompanied by one of the biggest hospital closure programs and land disposal programs.